As the second deadliest Ebola outbreak in history rages in the Congo, a survivor of the virus wants to see the same attention he received paid to the current crisis.
It's happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and most of the Western world is not paying much attention to it.
Dr. Kent Brantly was the first Ebola patient treated in the United States. He was infected while caring for patients in Liberia during that country's deadly outbreak in 2014.
We had around 20 patients with Ebola in our treatment unit, and we had only had one survivor.
He still remembers the first phone call to his wife after he walked into Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, his body covered in a white protective suit to contain Ebola.
And she said, "Kent, we watched you walk into the hospital." I said, "You were watching me?" And she said, "Oh, Kent, the whole world was watching you." I had no clue, no idea.
And I remember just the knot in my stomach.
Missionary Nancy Writebol was the second Ebola patient brought to Atlanta. She worked alongside Brantly at the Elwha Hospital near the Liberian capital of Monrovia.
By the time I was evacuated out, I was probably at my lowest. I think at times they wondered if I would even survive the flight back.
Treating Ebola patients was uncharted territory for the team at Emory.
No one had ever cared for Ebola, so we really didn't know what to expect.
But they'd been preparing their serious communicable disease control unit for 10 years. In addition to Brantly and Writebol, 2 other patients were treated for Ebola inside this unit.
They had a lot of survivor's guilt. They got to be evacuated. They got to go to a place where they were not in a resource-limited setting. That we learned so much about that disease during that time, and we did our best to feed it back to West Africa at the time.
After more than 11,000 deaths, West Africa was declared Ebola-free in 2016, but the continent is now dealing with another outbreak. In Congo, even though a highly effective experimental vaccine is now available, 1,800 people have died, and fears are growing that the outbreak will spread to neighboring countries.
It was amazing to us, having experienced Ebola ourselves, how the walls came down between us and Liberians.
After their recovery, both Brantly and Writebol returned to Africa. Writebol is still working with Ebola survivors, both hoping their stories bring attention to the worsening crisis. Sarah Blake Morgan, The Associated Press.